Recognize the Chairman of the full committee.
Thank you. I want to clear the record up a little bit. The ranking member seemed to imply that these documents weren't good and they were incomplete. Isn't it true that the minority has received every document we received through outside sources, which is basically every document we received, hundreds of thousands of documents, but they're not from DOE. They're from private sources like the ones we've been using here today. Is there some problem with the ranking member being able to have his staff prepared for today's hearing?
We think it's probably improper that we read about them in the press before we get them.
Didn't you receive them?
We got.
I think if you'll check with your staff, you'll find out that these documents were secured by the committee through outside sources because DOE is stonewalling discovery. These were in fact delivered to the minority.
Mr. Chairman, the answer is we got the documents, but we got them from outside sources instead of the majority.
I'm shocked that this committee would use whistleblowers or outside sources when we're getting stonewalled by an administration that lies through their teeth, violates the Records Act, uses non-government emails to circumvent loan guarantee programs and their wrongful acts. I'm shocked that we would go to other sources to find out we've been lied to. Are you?
Chairman, I will, if I may respond to that.
Of course.
I think the American public expects more of us than this. They expect this panel to investigate government inappropriate behavior together as a panel. They expect us to investigate things in an intelligent and rational fashion, one where we share the documents and the information ahead of time, where the witnesses who authored documents are actually brought here to comment on the actual context in which they were written. We ought to make this panel a panel that is a truth-seeking enterprise.
Oh, yeah. It would be really good to have all the consultants here that were warning of these problems. Well, DOE ignored it. We should have them up here so you could ask them questions as to why they did that. Mr. Wickham, you made a statement that just simply is not supported by the truth. You said that the John Doerr meeting wasn't really important, so to speak, I'm paraphrasing you, because it was with Jonathan Silver and he wasn't on the loan committee. Isn't it true that Jonathan Silver, do you need time to be briefed?
I heard him.
Okay. That Jonathan Silver, in fact, was the barbarian at the gate. You had to get through him before you got to the loan committee. Isn't that true? He was the first point of contact and the person who ultimately saw whether it got to the loan committee.
Not true at all.
Okay, well, let me ask a second question.
Applications are made through a portal. You can mail them in. You can
get you can mail them
in any way you
Okay, but
want.
he's in charge of the program, but you're not going to hold him accountable for any factor, and certainly he couldn't influence the decision of the loan committee. Is that right?
The credit committee acts independently of Mr.
The credit committee acts independently. Then why is it that Jonathan Silver circumvented the Federal Records Act deliberately and in a conspiratorial fashion in which he says, do not communicate because it might allow these to be traced, and then he contacts all of the individuals, including individuals on the credit committee, including the chief of staff who sits on that credit committee, lobbying on behalf of activities. Are you aware of these emails?
I can't speak for Mr. Silver.
Are you aware of these emails?
I can't speak for Mr.
Are you aware of these emails?
Third-party emails from non-DOE accounts, I have not had the chance.
Okay, so you're not aware that Jonathan Silver violated the Federal Records Act?
If he violated any acts, that's unfortunate for me.
Unfortunately, DOE has been made aware of it and doesn't seem to do much about it. As a matter of fact, if you're not aware, let me make you aware. The Department of Energy has tried to say that we cannot have those records because, in fact, they're Federal records and thus they're not going to give them. When we discovered it, they said, well, there really are records. But, of course, you claim not to have them. So before you come before this committee again, I would hope you'd be prepared to realize that Jonathan Silver circumvented the Federal Records Act, lobbied individuals, and met with what I believe to be an investor in this company. Mr. Fisker, I'm going to make you aware of something. If you do not answer here today, a question which I believe is appropriate, I will have you back here. Now, to the best of your knowledge, and I'll ask both of you, in 2011, March through May of 2011, was Kleiner Perkins an investor in your company?
Yes, there were.
For how much?
That I do not recall at that point in time.
Mr. Kohler, how much?
Oh, at the time, I couldn't answer that between March and May of it.
More than $1?
Yes, sir.
More than $1 million?
Yes, sir.
More than $10 million?
I believe so, yes.
More than $100 million?
No, sir. I don't think at the time, no.
Okay. So between $10 and $100 million.
I couldn't really speculate how much money it was at the time, but they were
Okay.
kind of a significant investor.
So at a time in which the principal founder, one of the founders, John Doerr, has a $10 to $100 million worth of investment risk in your company, he meets with Jonathan Silver, the head of this program, who has regular communications with the credit committee and others. My question to you is, were you aware of his ability to have these kinds of meetings? Either of you?
I was not aware of the meeting, no, sir.
Were you aware of his ability to have these kinds of meetings? In other words, his access to the White House, his access to the President, his access to DOE.
No, I was not aware of that, sir.
Would it surprise you to know that on March 24, 2010, April 16, 2010, October 4, 2010, May 14th and 15th again, 2011, and May 24, 2011, he had these kinds of meetings regularly? So were you aware that he was a close advisor to the President on these kinds of matters?
No, I was not, sir.
Do you believe that he put a board member onto your board to keep him informed and his firm informed as to the fiscal condition of your firm?
I do not believe so, because Ray Lane was the first contact within Kleiner Perkins when we discussed the first small investment into the company.
But when did a board member come from Kleiner Perkins?
It was Ray Lane, basically, at the beginning when we discussed the program.
So the point is that Ray was on the board and knew the financial condition of the company and the need for additional capital and the possibility that you were going to get a loan from DOE.
Like other board members, too.
Okay. So you have a direct representative of Kleiner Perkins, partner or involved directly with the principal partner, John Doerr, who is sitting on your board, knows you need the money, goes back to Kleiner Perkins and presumably informs them that their $10 million to $100 million investment is at risk, that in fact they need a new source of money, and then you steadily get a source of money. Is that right?
Sorry, sir, I have to speculate based on that. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
But you know that in fact John Doerr is a principal and that you had a representative of the company and that they had between $10 and $100 million in your estimation of risk, and you've already said that the company's condition was risky at that point.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Probably the final point. Mr. Fisker, we brought you here for a reason, and I'm going to close my questioning very briefly. We didn't bring you here because your car company is in trouble. We didn't bring you here to in fact, question any aspect of your aspiration for a car. As a matter of fact, we didn't bring you here to denounce the fact that you asked for this loan. Lots of companies throughout America asked for the loans. I supported in a letter a company that had an innovative electric hybrid car that had low drag. They didn't get a loan, but I certainly supported their application or their aspirations for that. What we've questioned here today is how DOE failed to administer over this program, misconnections, failed to do their job. And I hope the record is very clear. We don't blame anybody for trying to get a loan. Programs are there. The Congress votes on them, partisan or nonpartisan, from the point that they're signed by the President. You have every right to try to get that. This committee looks at waste, fraud, and abuse. And we have been stymied by this administration's stonewalling and refusal to provide any level of transparency. The documents you've seen today, for the most part, are documents we got around the Department of Energy. And for that reason, you found yourself here today. I want to thank you and your COO for being here today. It's not an easy job to come before Congress. We make it a point to get all the information we can from the branch we oversee, the executive branch. When we can't get it, these kinds of hearings can be particularly painful. Mr. Whitcomb, I hope today you'll go home a little bit different than you came in. I didn't sense it in your combative answers and so on, but I hope you will become familiar with Jonathan Silver's activities, and for that matter, many other individuals at DOE who routinely circumvent the Federal Records Act, and in fact are part of a pattern of when they want to say something they don't want to have seen in the future, they use their private emails. Under the law, they're not private emails, they're public documents. And I would hope you take that back with you. And Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, I thank you for your indulgence and yield back.